Hey guys, so as you can see, this is not my usual kind of video because we're not in my room, we're actually in the forest and we're going on a little adventure today. So, you know, it's a bright sunny day, it's a great day to go outside, go on a little picnic slash trip slash hike. So yeah, let's go. So I think we found a pretty good place for a little picnic, and I got all my picnic stuff with me. I got my little blanket, I got my HHKB keyboard, I got my Thinkpad, obviously. You can't have a picnic without a Thinkpad. Then I got my Raspberry Pi, there it is. I got my SPI clip. I got some female to female jumper wires. And as you can imagine, we are going to flash Coreboot on that Thinkpad in the forest right now. Now you might want to ask, why would I want to flash my Thinkpad using a hardware method like Raspberry Pi if we have stuff like Ivy Rain, which lets you flash a Thinkpad like T430 using software methods? And the answer is, well, first, you kind of need to have Raspberry Pi handy in case something goes wrong, in case you break your laptop. And second, well, because I can. So let's get to it. First thing we need to do is take the laptop apart, obviously, and on T430, unfortunately, you kind of need to take the whole laptop apart before you can get to the SPI clip. I don't have my fancy screwdriver today, I have just the normal screwdrivers, but that will do just fine. Alright, so actually I haven't read the Lenovo maintenance manual, I have no idea how to proceed further, so we're just gonna go with the flow and, you know, kind of try to take stuff apart without really reading the manual first, and then if something breaks, I can just, you know, Google it, I guess. As you can see, this laptop still has a Windows 7 license, which we might actually activate because CBIOS, you know, the default payload for Coreboot, actually supports Windows 7, since, you know, we can still do legacy boot. So we might actually use this Windows 7 license after we're done with the Coreboot installation. So after a long and a very painstaking process of taking this laptop apart, I think we're finally done. Let's just lift this thing off. There we go. I think that's also in here. We need to disconnect that. There we go. And there it is. This is our motherboard. So let's look for the SPI chip now. It should be under one of those plastic covers. Oh yeah, there we go. That's our SPI chips. So this is what we need to flash. So I'm going to put the clip on this chip first, I think. I'm not sure which one of them has the BIOS on them and which one has the Intel ME. But we basically need to make sure that the red wire is aligned to pin 1, which usually has a dimple on the chip. Now I'll have to take this PCB out of the frame just to look at it. Alright, so that's the pin 1. So basically need to put the clip on the chip. Don't worry, it's not connected to anything just yet. It's empty on the other side, and I won't be powering Raspberry Pi on until I'm absolutely sure that the clip is connected properly. Alright, so now we need to open the wiring. I have a very handy diagram here on my phone. So this is basically the way chip is going to be connected. Now, on the Raspberry Pi side, as you can see, I actually have a PiJuice hat in it. This is basically a battery for Raspberry Pi. And it's very handy because it also gives you access to all the GPIO pins on here. And also, you're never going to have problems with low voltage, like you would, for example, in some power banks. So yeah, if you want to buy it, I'm going to leave the link in the description. It's very useful, especially if you flash your T430 in forests very often, like me. So I'm going to remove the battery from here, just to make 100% sure that there's no voltage on this. I don't want to fry my laptop just yet. Alright, so that's supposed to be correct. And now I'm going to connect this to Raspberry Pi, and I'm going to connect my handy dandy screen. Actually, It is a $600 external recorder for my camera, but you know, since it has an HDMI input, I'm going to use it as a screen. I'm going to turn on the recorder, and I'm going to turn on the Raspberry Pi. And there's the Raspberry Pi desktop. So now I'm going to connect my keyboard, and we're going to flash it. All right, so now we're ready to flash. So I'm going to launch a terminal here. As you can see, I got very fancy pink terminal. To flash Coreboot, I'm going to use a tool called Skulls. This is basically a pre-compiled Coreboot binary with C bias and VGA bias. C, there we go. So the first thing we need to do, as you see, I've connected to this chip. This is the bottom chip, the one that has the Intel ME and the LAN firmware. So we need to execute the script external install bottom. For the speed, I'm going to choose 8192 because this is fast enough and pretty reliable. And I'm also going to specify the command M in order to clear the Intel ME firmware. There we go. I'm going to choose a Raspberry Pi here. And as you can see, it detected the chip automatically, so we didn't even need to specify it, so that's good. It's going to read the flash twice, compare them together, just to make sure that they have the same size and they have the same checksum. Because if two reads are not the same, that means there's something wrong with our wiring and that our setup is unstable. It's going to verify the flash. Should take a little bit of time, but yeah, definitely do set that speed to 8000 Hertz because the default speed is like 128 Hertz and it's going to take ages. If you don't want to sit in the forest, and be eaten by mosquitoes, that's the speed you want to set, right? Anyway, so now that it's done, I'm going to disconnect the chip from this like middle sort of thing. There we go. Now I'm going to reconnect the clip to this chip right here. I'm going to reconnect it here. And now I'm going to execute the script called external install top. I'm going to specify the model with B, so B T430. I'm going to specify the speed. And I think that's it. Let's try it. There we go. It's a 4 megabyte chip. So this is how we know that it's the top one. And there we go. That's basically our Coreboot installation complete. Now, the hardest part for your anxiety is basically reconnecting everything kind of roughly and seeing if everything works properly. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to disconnect the clip from the chip, set the Raspberry Pi aside. We're not going to need this anymore, hopefully. I just want to see if it works, so I'm going to reconnect the display assembly. There it is. This goes here. Now we're going to need to connect the keyboard as well, so that we have a power button and the battery. Last but not least. There it is. As you can see, we got skulls. Unfortunately, Coreboot doesn't seem to play well with Haiku OS. That's okay. We're going to install something better on it once we're out of the forest and have access to civilization stuff such as internet and Arch Linux repositories. So I'm going to show you that afterwards. But for now, we've got to complete the very painstaking process of putting it all back together. So see you on the other. So I'll see you on the other side.
A few inches later.
Alright guys, so I finally put this thing together and we now have a Thinkpad T430 with C-boot installed, but the screen doesn't work. But that's okay because I probably just conducted something wrong. I'm probably going to finish that up at home because I am really becoming food for mosquitoes, and I'll just put some B-roll with some footage of this thing on and working so that you're sure I didn't break anything. But yeah, this is going to be it for now. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.